Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you today? Good? Well, let's find out. Today we've got our new Julia Donaldson book, which I'm quite excited about. It's one of my favourite things to talk about. Some dinosaurs! Yes! I love dinosaurs. And then a dinosaur song
Yeah.
that we can all march around to.
It's one that kindergarten might remember from when they were in playgroup.
Wow. But first, let's sing our good morning song.
Well, our hello song.
Our hello song.
The new one.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hello, hello, how are you? Hello, hello, it's good to see you. I say hello to you and all your friends. I say hello. Let's meet together, let's read together, let's have fun with friends. We're going to start our story. Tyrannosaurus Drip. Tyrannosaurus Drip by Julia Donaldson and David Roberts.
I might sit on the stool.
Yeah, good idea.
Tyrannosaurus Drip. This is one of our favourites in reception as well.
In a swamp beside a river, where the land was thick with veg, lived a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs who roamed the water's edge. And they hooted.
Up with rivers!
And they hooted.
Up with reeds!
And they hooted.
Up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds!
Now across the rushy river, on a hill the other side, lived a mean Tyrannosaurus with his grim and grisly bride. And they shouted,
Up with hunting!
and they shouted,
Up with war!
and they shouted,
Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!
But the two Tyrannosauruses, so grisly, mean, and grim, couldn't catch the duck-billed dinosaurs because they couldn't swim. And they muttered,
Down with water!
and they muttered,
Down with wet!
and they muttered,
What a shame that bridges aren't invented yet!
and now a little Compsognathus, but for short, we'll call her Comp, found a duckbill egg and stole it from a nest beside the swamp. And she swam with it, and ran with it, and murmured,
Cover me!
and
Won't the baby Comps be thrilled with duckbill egg for tea?
she dropped the egg in terror and went running for her life from the mean Tyrannosaurus and his grim and grisly wife. Now the mother T had great big jaws and great enormous legs, but her brain was rather little, and she couldn't count her eggs.
Oh, look! The egg!
And she sang,
Hatch out, my little terrors, with your scaly little tails, and your spiky little toothies, and your scary little nails.
Out hatched babies 1 and 2, as perfect as could be, but Mother T was horrified by baby number 3. And she grumbled,
He looks weedy!
and she grumbled,
He looks weak!
and she grumbled,
What long arms! And look, his mouth is like a beak! He just needs feeding up,
said Dad, and gave the babes some meat. The first 2 gulped and guzzled, but the third refused to eat. And he said,
I'm really sorry.
and he said,
I simply can't.
and he said,
This meat looks horrible. I'd rather eat a plant. A plant?
yelled Mum in horror, and Dad said,
Get a grip.
his sisters found a name for him,
Tyrannosaurus Drip.
and they shouted,
Up with hunting.
and they shouted,
Up with war.
and they shouted.
Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur.
Poor Tyrannosaurus Drip tried hard to sing along, But the others yelled,
"You silly Drip, you got the words all wrong!"
for he hooted,
"Down with hunting!
and he hooted,
Down with war!
and he hooted.
Down with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!"
Drip's sisters soon grew big enough to hunt with Dad and Mum, but they turned on Drip and told him,
"You're not fierce enough to come!"
and he cried,
"They've gone without me!
and he cried,
Alack-a-day!
and he cried.
This doesn't feel like home. I'm going to run away."
Poor Tyrannosaurus Drip. So he ran off to the river, where he saw a lovely sight, a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs, all hooting with delight. And they hooted,
"Up with the rivers!
and they hooted,
Up with the reeds!
and they hooted.
Up with bellyfuls of juicy water weeds!"
As he stood there on the bank, a sudden urge took hold of him, and he jumped into the water and discovered he could swim. And the duckbills came to greet him by the rushy river's edge, and they hooted,
"Nice to see you!
and they hooted.
Have some veg!"
And Drip, who was delighted that they hadn't run away, ate bellyfuls of waterweeds and played with them all day. Then he gazed into the river, and he asked them,
"Who, oh who, is that creature in the water?"
and they laughed and said,
"It's you!"
"Oh, it's reflection." That night the lightning crackled, and a storm blew down a tree, and it fell across the river, and the teas cried out,
"Yippee!
and they shouted,
Up with hunting!
and they shouted,
Up with war!
and they shouted.
Up with bellyfuls of duck-billed dinosaur!"
Drip's sisters stepped onto the bridge, but then began to frown, for there in front of them stood Drip, who yelled,
"Look out! Look down!"
and they looked into the water, and they each let out a yelp, and one cried,
"Water monsters!
and the other one cried.
Help!"
Their mother scolded,
"Nonsense!
and she joined them on the tree. Then she looked into the water and exclaimed.
Good gracious me!
The three of them stood trembling, and Dad said,
Get a grip! You're all of you as drippy as Tyrannosaurus Drip!
He strode onto the bridge and scoffed.
I bet there's nothing there!
Then he looked into the water, and he jumped into the air. Well, you can see in the water his own reflection. And how the duckbills hooted when he landed with a crash, and the tree bridge broke, and 4 Tyrannosauruses went splash! And spluttering and clinging to the branches of the tree, they went whooshing down a waterfall, and all the way to sea. And the duckbills hooted happily. They hooted,
Hip, hip, hip! Hooray for the heroic, one and only Duck-Bill Drip!
very nice story. He was with the wrong
I
family.
know. That compsognathus
I know, that word
had
took me
taken-
by surprise.
had
this
taken
morning.
his egg and it rolled down
Yeah.
and landed in the nest.
More dinosaur word practice for Mr. Scullion.
Compsognathus. I don't know what it is. We'll just call him Comp.
Good idea.
Okay, are you ready for our song?
I am. You need some space because we're going to do a lot of marching. We're going to march around the back of our sofa.
Yeah.
So we've got our space sorted. Are you in some space? Are you ready? Because we are the dinosaurs. Marching, marching, we are the dinosaurs. What do you think of that? We are the dinosaurs, marching, marching. We are the dinosaurs.
We make the earth flat. We make the earth flat.
We stop and eat our food.
When we're in the mood.
We stop and eat our food on the ground. We stop and eat our food when we're in the mood.
Oh, march around.
Ready to march? We are the dinosaurs, marching, marching. We are the dinosaurs. What do you think of that? We are the dinosaurs, marching, marching. We are the dinosaurs. We make the earth flat. We make the earth flat.
We stop and take a rest over in our nest. We stop and take a rest at the end of the day. We stop and take a rest over in our nest. We stop and take a rest and then you'll hear us say,
Ready? Whoa!
that we
Are the dinosaurs marching, marching. We are the dinosaurs. What do you think of that? We are the dinosaurs marching, marching. We are the dinosaurs. We make the earth flat. We make the earth flat. And we
cause
We are the dinosaurs.
That was lots
That's a
of
really good
fun.
song.
I'm sure everybody's wide awake this morning after all that dinosaur marching.
Yeah.
Lovely. We're back on Thursday. So no story and song tomorrow, but we are back on Thursday and we look forward to seeing you there. Have a lovely day, everybody. We'll say goodbye and we'll say see you soon.
See you soon. Bye.